What if I told you that your struggle to focus has nothing to do with your character and everything to do with how your brain was designed? What if the fog, the procrastination, the aimlessness weren't signs of weakness, but signs of misalignment? Ooh, most people grow up believing that the reason they can't focus is because they lack discipline, drive, or some inner grit that only a select few are born with. But that's not the truth. The truth is, focus isn't a moral issue. It's not a personality trait or a matter of willpower. Focus is governed by neuromodulators, chemical messengers in the brain designed by God himself. These are not random accidents of biology. They are divinely ordered systems that dictate how we pay attention, how we ignore distraction, and how we pursue purpose. Dopamine, acetylcholine, and norepinephrine, these are sacred tools placed inside every human being, not just for survival, but for the pursuit of destiny. When we say someone is a lazy, what we're really saying is that their brain is not receiving or regulating these chemicals. Laziness is often a signal, not a sin. It's a sign that the system isn't being activated, and many times that's due to environmental, behavioral, or emotional patterns that are blocking what the brain is designed to do. The human brain was created to seek, to strive, to lock in on goals and move forward. We were made to focus. But the modern world, filled with dopamine overdoses from scrolling, artificial lighting, and stress, blunts these God-given chemicals and dulls the mind. It trains the brain to seek distraction instead of direction. The enemy wants you scattered. Scattered mind, scattered time, scattered life, because a focused mind is dangerous. A focused mind hears the voice of God clearer, chases vision faster, and resists temptation with greater strength. That's why this battle for attention isn't just about productivity. It's spiritual warfare. And the battleground is your neurobiology. You were knit together in your mother's womb with systems that are not meant to drift aimlessly. The Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That transformation is both spiritual and biological. Understanding the role of neuromodulators like dopamine is the first key. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's about anticipation, about forward movement. Every time you set a goal and move toward it, your brain rewards you with a surge of dopamine. It's the fuel for momentum, the divine whisper that says, keep going. When you lose focus, you're not just lazy, you're likely depleted or misaligned. The brain isn't getting the chemical signals it needs to stay engaged, but that can be changed. The Lord has given us authority not just over spirits, but over systems, over our bodies, our brains, our chemistry. You are not bound to a distracted life. The Creator hardwired you for purpose, and that purpose requires focus. When we align our habits with how the brain was built, we unlock supernatural levels of attention, clarity, and discipline. Not by striving harder, but by honoring the way we were made. Obedience isn't just about morality, it's about alignment. When you align with divine design, your brain obeys, your attention obeys, your future opens. Dopamine is not just a chemical that makes you feel good. It's the molecular signature of pursuit. It is the fire that fuels focus, the spark that turns intention into action. When you dream about achieving something, when you feel the pull toward a higher calling, it's dopamine that stirs in your system and propels you forward. God built this chemical into your brain to drive you toward purpose. It's not a coincidence. It's not biology gone random. It's divine engineering. And yet many people are drowning in distraction. Not because they're broken, but because their dopamine system has been hijacked by empty rewards. In today's world, we live in a constant loop of false dopamine spikes, likes, notifications, junk food, pornography, meaningless scrolling. Every one of those is a counterfeit version of purpose. They trick the brain into thinking it's achieving, but it's not. That artificial stimulation trains your brain to chase what's easy instead of what's eternal. The enemy doesn't need to destroy your life if he can keep you endlessly stimulated. The path of purpose becomes blurry when the brain is flooded with pleasure, divorced from meaning. The system that was supposed to drive you toward calling now becomes a cage of cravings. But it doesn't have to stay that way. You can retrain your dopamine system. You can reset the thresholds and redirect the reward circuits. That's not just science. It's stewardship. When you commit to delayed gratification, when you start associating dopamine with disciplined action instead of cheap distractions, your brain starts working for your destiny instead of against it. Every time you choose to resist a shortcut, every time you say no to mindless consumption, you're not just making a moral choice, you are reshaping your neurochemistry in the image of divine order. In the image of divine order. When you begin to crave what God has called you to. Dopamine starts to flow not from entertainment, but from discipline. You start to get a hit of drive when you pray, when you write, when you build, when you serve, when you keep your word. The system was always meant to do this, but it only activates fully when aligned with higher values. Wait. Dopamine doesn't just reward results. It rewards progress. And when you understand that, you stop waiting for the end and start celebrating the journey. You move from passive to powerful, from distracted to determined. Your brain, through dopamine, becomes a servant of your mission. This is why fasting matters, why silence matters, why consistency matters. They're not rituals, they're recalibrations. Each one cleanses the circuits, resets the baseline, and reawakens the drive within you. You don't need more motivation, you need dopamine alignment. You need to reconnect your reward system to your purpose. That's where real focus begins. Not in forcing the mind, but in feeding it with the right signals, the right habits, the right hungers. Your brain was designed to function in rhythm with the light of creation. Before alarms, screens, and schedules, there was only one clock, the rising and setting of the sun. And this wasn't by accident. Light is not just visual, it's biological. The first thing God said was, "Let there be light," and that light still governs every cell in your body, and none of every cell in your body. Your circadian rhythm, the internal 24-hour clock that controls sleep, hormones, focus, and energy, is set by light. When you expose your eyes to natural sunlight in the morning, you are not just waking up. You are commanding your brain to release the exact chemicals needed to stay alert, focused, and aligned. Most people wake up and immediately reach for a phone. Within seconds, artificial blue light floods the eyes and sends scrambled signals to the brain. The body doesn't know what time it is. The mind feels foggy, and the day begins in confusion. But when you step outside and let sunlight hit your eyes, no glasses, no windows in between, you trigger a powerful cascade. Cortisol rises in healthy amounts to boost alertness. Dopamine starts to prime motivation, and melatonin production gets delayed until night, ensuring deep sleep late until night, ensuring deep sleep later. This one simple act, done consistently, can shift your entire mental state from scattered to sharp. Light is how your brain knows what to do and when to do it. It's not just about seeing, it's about syncing. When you align your daily rhythms with the rise and fall of light, you experience clarity, stability, and endurance. But when you ignore it, when you live indoors all day, stare at screens into the night, and disconnect from the patterns God wrote into creation, you create chaos in the very systems meant to guide you. That chaos shows up as anxiety, brain fog, poor sleep, low energy, and a lack of focus. The world will offer pills, hacks, and shortcuts, but the truth is, your body already knows what to do. It just needs to be put back into the light. There is power in sacred timing. When you get sunlight early in the day, your brain starts to anchor the rhythm of life. You begin to feel more alert in the morning, more creative in the afternoon, more restful at night. This is not just productivity advice, it's spiritual obedience. Aligning with light is aligning with order. God is not the author of confusion, and your brain was never meant to operate in darkness, physically or spiritually. Your hormonal systems balances your mood, sharpens your cognition, and clears the fog of distraction that so many silently suffer with. You don't have to live disconnected. You don't have to guess when to focus or when to rest. The design has already been given. The light that touches your skin and enters your eyes is not random. It is a daily signal from heaven to awaken, to work, to create, and then to rest. The closer you live to this divine rhythm, the more your focus will feel natural, not forced. There are moments when the mind feels clouded, heavy, unable to lock in. You sit in front of your goals, your Bible, your responsibilities, and the focus just won't come. You try to force it, push through, strain your will. But the fog remains. What most people don't know is that your mind can be shifted almost instantly. Not by motivation or caffeine, but through your body, specifically through deliberate cold exposure and breath. These are not just physical practices. They are keys to unlocking focus by commanding the nervous system to wake up and realign. God gave you a breath and a body, not just to survive, but to take authority over your internal state. When you immerse yourself in cold, whether it's a cold shower, a plunge, or even splashing ice water on your face, you activate the sympathetic nervous system. This isn't just a shock to the skin. It's a divine switch built into your biology. Adrenaline begins to rise, norepinephrine floods the brain, and within moments your vision sharpens, your thoughts accelerate, and your energy becomes focused. This is not torture. It's training. It's a reset, a moment where comfort dies and clarity is born. Cold reminds your body that you're alive, that you're not ruled by emotion or tiredness, but by choice and design. Likewise, breath is not just air. It is the spirit of control God placed in your lungs. You can use it to calm, to energize, to direct. A long exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system, slowing the heart, quieting anxiety, and centering the mind. A rapid inhale can awaken alert and prepare you to move. The breath is the steering wheel of the mind, and yet most people never touch it. They sit waiting for clarity to come, not realizing that it's only a few breaths away. When the Lord formed Adam, he breathed life into him. That same breath carries power today. Through deliberate breathwork and exposure to the elements, especially cold, you gain access to the highest levels of cognitive clarity. These are not mystical rituals. They are sacred protocols rooted in how the body and brain were made to operate. When you face resistance, when you feel yourself slipping into distraction or fatigue, you don't have to surrender. You can intervene. You can choose to activate the systems placed inside of you. Every time you step into the cold or take control of your breathing, you are declaring, my spirit is stronger than my sensations. My purpose is greater than my comfort. This is spiritual discipline meeting neurobiological mastery. It is the fusion of ancient wisdom and modern science. It's fasting from ease, choosing stimulus that sharpens instead of dulls. The world says you need more stimulation to focus, more screens, more sugar, more noise. But real focus comes when you strip it all away and come back to breath, to sensation, to the raw signals God encoded in your flesh. The path to mental stillness is through the body. When you steward that body with intentional discomfort and sacred rhythm, the mind responds with stillness, strength, and supernatural clarity. Your brain doesn't work best in endless grind. It works in waves. These waves, known as ultradian rhythms, are God-designed cycles of heightened alertness and natural fatigue that occur every 90 to 120 minutes. During these peaks, your mind is sharp, your attention is laser-like, your ability to retain and process is at its highest. But most people ignore these divine pulses. They push through tired phases with caffeine, ignore rest signals, and wonder why focus disappears and burnout creeps in. The truth is, if you don't honor the body's rhythms, you break the system that carries your destiny. Productivity was never meant to be a constant sprint. Even the heavens were created in cycles, day and night, work and rest, season and Sabbath. Your brain follows the same law. There are windows where you're supposed to go deep. Write, build, think, create. And then there are windows where you're supposed to stop, breathe, walk, rest, recalibrate. When you honor these ultradian rhythms, you multiply your output with less strain. You move in alignment with how your mind was made. It's not laziness to pause. It's wisdom to obey the signal. The enemy would love to convince you that rest is weakness, that stepping back means falling behind. But that is a lie designed to steal your clarity and fragment your purpose. God is not glorified by burnout. He is glorified by stewardship. Oh boy. And stewardship means knowing when to push and when to pause. The average person can only do deep focus work for about 4 to 5 hours a day. Not because they're flawed, but because that's how the brain was designed. Trying to force productivity beyond that threshold leads to shallow work, scattered attention, and eventually spiritual exhaustion. Task batching with your natural rhythms is the strategy of the focused. It means taking your most important work and assigning it to your highest alert windows. No multitasking, no distractions, just singular attention. And when that window closes, you step back. You don't quit, you recharge. A 5-minute walk. A moment of prayer. Deep breathing, silence. These are not wasted minutes. They are seeds of longevity. The goal is not just short-term focus, it's sustained clarity over a lifetime. When you live like this, you begin to notice something powerful. Your mind becomes obedient, your energy flows more freely, and your work carries more depth. God did not design you for constant noise. He made you to move in holy cycles, focus and rest, output and renewal. When you submit to these rhythms, your brain becomes a vessel of excellence. You begin to touch the work he created you for, not with striving, but with stillness and strength. Your days become structured like a psalm, full of action, anchored in worship, and sustained by intervals of grace. This is how to focus without falling apart. This is how to honor the system and the spirit that leads you your highest calling. Focus doesn't begin in the mind. It begins with the eyes and the body. What you fix your gaze on and how you position your body sends direct signals to your brain about what matters. The human brain is wired to follow vision. When your eyes lock onto a single point, your brain shifts into goal-directed mode. This isn't philosophy, it's biology. It's also spiritual. The Bible says, if your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. Vision governs focus. And yet, we spend our days darting between screens, glancing, skimming, scanning, never truly seeing, never fully anchoring. The brain can't lock in because the eyes never stay still. When you anchor your visual attention on one thing, whether it's the word, a task, a person in prayer, you activate the circuits responsible for deep concentration. You switch from diffuse mode to focused mode to focused mode. Your brain begins to release acetylcholine, a powerful neuromodulator that sharpens your perception and suppresses distraction. This isn't just about productivity, it's about clarity of spirit. The more you fix your eyes, the more you train your mind to follow. This is why worship requires stillness, why study demands a gaze, why purpose starts with vision, literally and spiritually. But vision is only half of it. Posture matters too. The way you sit, stand, breathe, these are not neutral acts. They're signals. When you slouch, collapse your chest, or avoid eye contact with your mission, you are sending messages to your brain that say, ooh, this isn't serious. This doesn't matter. But when you square your shoulders, breathe deeply, and hold your frame upright, your nervous system aligns with authority. Oh, authority. You step into focus not just with your thoughts, but with your entire being. God didn't design your body and spirit to operate separately. They are partners, and when you engage both, your focus becomes unstoppable. Even Jesus has set his face like flinty toward Jerusalem. That wasn't just determination. It was posture and vision locked into divine direction. When you set your eyes and hold your ground, you create an environment where the brain is free to serve the spirit. You remove the noise. You eliminate the drift. You embody the mission. Focus becomes not something you chase, but something you carry. And in that posture, your brain begins to honor the call of God. This is why presence matters. Why physical discipline isn't vanity, it's preparation. The enemy wants you hunched, scattered, and eyes down. But heaven calls you to lift your gaze, plant your feet, and command your attention through every fiber of your being. You don't drift into clarity, you embody it. You direct your gaze, you align your breath, you take your place. And when you do, your brain recognizes the assignment. Focus floods in, vision sharpens, noise fades, and you step into the work not as a wandering mind, but as a vessel carrying holy fire.